One small step for man. Hang on. Yeah. One giant leap for mankind.
Conspiracy theories. They have been around since the dawn of mankind and will most likely never go away. According to Britannica, the definition for conspiracy theory is conspiratorial thinking driven by a strong human desire to make sense of social forces that are self-relevant, important, and threatening. Some examples of these theories include believing that the pyramids were built by aliens, that a giant furry mythical human creature going by the name of Bigfoot exists, or that the earth is actually flat instead of round. Kyrie Irving. However, I think the most controversial one in recent and past American history is the conspiracy that the 1969 moon landing was faked. Crazy, huh? Though the Apollo 11 rocket takeoff was broadcasted live on TV for millions to bear witness, many Americans still remain doubtful about the validity of this event. According to a poll survey in 2021, 12% of American adults believed that the NASA moon landing was faked, and an additional 17% were unsure on the matter. Why is that? Well, to begin, we can look at former U.S. Navy officer and technical writer at NASA, Bill Kaysing, and his book, We Never Went to the Moon, published in 1976. Essentially, Kaysing's main conspiratorial belief that he stated in the book was that NASA filmed the entire moon landing in a studio in southern Nevada, and that the Apollo 11 rocket, launched in Cape Kennedy, now known as Cape Canaveral, was just an empty hull that was discarded in the South Polar Sea. As crazy as this sounds, Americans still trusted Kaysing. And though clearly untrue, the reason for that distrust isn't as crazy as it might first seem. This is because distrust in the American government was at an all-time high during the 70s due to the Watergate scandal and released Pentagon Papers. These were major events of suspicion taking place around the same time as Kaysing's book released, and kickstarted the flame of distrust in the American government. Additionally, considering why this distrust is still prevalent in modern day, we could thank popular ignorant influencers on the internet such as podcaster Andrew Tate and YouTuber Jinxie, otherwise known as Nicholas Stewart. Because social media is where people get a lot of their information today, especially younger people, this generation is particularly susceptible to false information. For example, Andrew Tate believes that the government is basically the Matrix and is plotting to keep us enslaved under their tyranny for all of time, while Jinxie believes that we faked the moon landing just to gain the upper hand in the space race during the Cold War. These assertions don't have any facts to support them, and it's another reason why Americans doubt the moon landing to this day. Unbelievable. All this just to make our great nation look less great than it actually is. Now that we looked at the rhetoric that helps spread these false rumors, let's take a look at what supposed evidence there was gathered by conspirators to prove that the Apollo 11 mission was a hoax. To do so, we can turn our attention to 3 specific images of the moon landing provided by NASA. These images are highly debated among conspirators, but thankfully for us, the Royal Museum's Greenwich, located in London, England, helps us to debunk them and prove these ridiculous conspiracies wrong. In the first image, we see an American flag waving. Weird, right? It might seem normal here on Earth, but we should remember that it's a photo taken on the moon. There's obviously no wind on the moon to move the flag, right? Or atmosphere. So then how can it be waving? Well, according to the Royal Museum's Greenwich, a telescopic pole has been extended along the top in order to make the flag fly, not because it was filmed in a Hollywood studio. Another example of an image that conspirators like to use is this. In this image of Buzz Aldrin on the moon, we see that there are no stars in the background or in space in general. If NASA really did go to the moon, surely there would be stars in the background of their images, right? And again, the Royal Museum's Greenwich debunks this by stating that the photo was taken during daytime on the moon, and that the camera shutter speed isn't fast enough to capture the stars in a brightly lit background. Okay, but surely third time's the charm, right? Well, it appears not. In this image, we see the shadow of Neil Armstrong, head commander of Apollo 11, in a pole. If the sun really were facing in a direction, wouldn't these shadows be parallel to each other like they would on Earth? This is actually somewhat correct. But as Professor Oja explains on the Royal Museum's website, taking a 2D picture of a 3D plane can cause weird things to happen, even distorting what appears to be parallel lines into being unparallel. I guess third time's not the charm. And after all this, it's pretty evident that the Apollo 11 mission did happen. Though it is normal to not have completely trust in an institution such as the American government, there are some things that are undeniable facts. I guess you're wrong, conspiracy theorists. #debunked.